Um, we talked before about the gold ATM, this German company called Gold to Go. Apparently, they're now cranking out 50 gold ATMs a month. So who knows? Maybe soon there will be an ATM where you can go put money in and get your gold coin out. They're putting out 50 a month. Ron Paul recently said the Fed is getting very nervous about America's attention to what they're doing. The Fed has almost been a secret organization as far as no one really understands who they are or what they do, and they're super powerful, perhaps the most powerful organization in the country. They're a private company that's given full power of the United States purse strings, and yet they've been allowed to secretly do whatever they want to do. Well, Ron Paul and others have called attention to this, and Ron Paul said, well, I don't think they're necessarily scared that we're going to win our audit the Fed bill anytime soon, but he says he's got inside people that have been telling him they're getting nervous that more and more people are starting to pay attention to what they do. So, I mean, that's a good sign if they're a little more looking over their shoulder that, hey, we care what you're doing with our U.S. dollar. David Einhorn, who's a big hedge fund manager, says it's absurd for banks to be allowed to hold sovereign debt with zero capital. The requirements on banks are that if they hold sovereign debt, that they don't have to have extra reserve capital because it's risk-free money. Well, that's obviously become absurd. Governments are having trouble all over the place. There's no such thing as risk-free debt. And he said that the next crisis might rhyme with the last. So the last time we had a bank crisis, this time a sovereign debt crisis. Only this one would hurt a lot more than the last one. Robert Prechter, I haven't been super familiar with him. He's Elliott Wave, and the Daily Crux did an interview with him over the weekend, and he predicts deflation. He's one of the few that really thinks deflation is going to come, and he had a really good argument. And as we talked about in the last video, M3 money supply is drastically being reduced. So that's very recessionary, that banks will collapse, money will just dry up, money will cease to exist because all this debt right now that's kind of hanging on will just implode. There's no way it'll get paid back, and all this money and capital will disappear. And so he thinks it would be a long time before inflation would be allowed to work, because he says the government, the Federal Reserve, when they print money, it just gives it to the banks, but banks are hurting so bad that they're not going to let that money out into the public. Well, when I looked at that, I combined that with understanding what is in the financial reform bill that's just passed, and you see that the Congress gave itself the right to take over any bank that it deems necessary for the good of America. So I'm just kind of guessing here, but I'm betting that as things implode, as the economy starts getting really bad, Congress steps in, takes over those banks, and starts lending out money no matter what. Therefore, that's when the money really hits the street, and that's when we see the effects of inflation that the government has been doing, printing money at an unbelievable rate. So that's just my theory, but that's kind of what I thought when I read through his very good analysis of why we're going to see deflation instead of hyperinflation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we just see deflation. But with all the printing of money, with all the borrowing of money, the limited supply of money for us to borrow, and the fact that our biggest creditors are no longer willing to lend us money anymore, to me that shows that we have a severe sovereign debt crisis coming, and it's just a matter of time. And following up with California, more California municipalities are talking about going bankrupt. Vallejo did it a couple years ago, and one advantage they've found is they were able to force the unions to negotiate with them. The unions in California are very powerful, and so the California, the state, and the cities aren't able to reduce and pay reasonable wages. They have promised to pay absurd wages so that they can't make their bills that way. So when Vallejo went bankrupt, these unions had to kind of come to the table and say, okay, we'll lower and make reasonable what you pay us. Well, it's interesting. California unions are now going straight to the state and trying to make a law so that California cities can't go bankrupt without the state's permission, which, of course, the unions would have power in that decision. We've come to an absurd place of communism and socialism in this country, and it's killing us. You just see this all around the country, and it's about to eat us alive. The private sector, where all growth comes from in every country in the history of the world, is just being crushed by this all these social promises and social engineering plans that we have. That's all I have for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if you haven't seen the Coming Storm video, I highly recommend that you watch that. There's a link to watch that for free. Also, we're going to have, if you do that, you'll be on a newsletter list. I just sent out a long prediction on what I think I'm going to see in the economy, or what we're going to see coming forward. If you sign up soon and you email me and you miss that, I'm happy to forward that to you. But I send out maybe once a month videos of events that we do, or you know, a little more detailed written stuff. We're also going to send out a really cool product that we're putting together pretty soon. We've been working on it a long time. I think we're a few weeks from being able to launch that. So you'll be able to hear about that if you're on that newsletter list as well. Thanks. I appreciate you being a part of this, and God bless you.